Om Vakratunga Mahakaya
Mahakaya
Surya Koti
Surya-koti
Samaprabha
Samaprabha
Nirvignam
Nirvignam
Kuru
Kuru
Me
Me Deva
Deva Sarvakaryeshu
Sarvakaryeshu
Sarvada
Sarvada
Saraswati
Saraswati
Namastubhyam
Namastubhyam
Varade
Varade
Kamarupini
Kamarupini
Vidyarambham
Vidyarambam
Karishyami
Karishyami Siddhir
Siddhir
Bhavatu
Bhavatu
Me
Me Sada
Sada
Gurur
Guru
Brahma
Brahma
Gurur
Guru
Vishnu
Vishnu
Gurur
Guru
Devo
Devo
Maheshwaraha
Maheshwaraha
Guru
Guru
Sakshat
Sakshat Param
Param Brahmam
Brahma
Tasmai
Tasmai
Shri
Shri Gurave
Gurave
Namaha.
Namaha Om
Om Sahana
Sahana
Bhavatu
Bhavatu
Sahano
Sahano
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Saha
Sahaviryam
Viryam Karavavahai
Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu
Tejasvinavadhetamastu Ma Vidvishavahai.
Avidvishavahai Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Atha Dvitiyodhyayaha
Atha Dvitiyodhyayaha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Shloka number 67 Indriyanam hi charatam
Indriyanam hi charatham.
Yanmano nu vidhiyate
Yanmano nu vidhiyate.
Tadasya harati prajnam
Tatasya harati prajnam.
Vayurnavamivambhasi
Vayurvanavami vambhasi.
Indriyanam hi charatam Yan manaha Yat manaha, that mind which follows, which wanders, which follows the Indriyanam Charatam Yat manaha Anavidiyate Tadasya Arati Pragyam, the mind which follows the Charatam Indriyanam Manaha Yat manaha Anavidiyate. Yat manaha is Yat manaha Sandhi. Yat manaha, the mind of a person. Indriyanam Charatam Indriyanam Anuvidiyate, which follows the sense organs which wanders. Then Tasya Purushasya Prajnam Arati, his knowledge is robbed of, his knowledge is robbed of the mind. That mind which follows the sense organs will rob off the jnanam, the prajna of the person. Like Vayuhu Navam Iva Ambasi, like the wind carries away the boat. The wind the forceful wind, the powerful wind which blows as it carries away the boat, ambasi in the water. Similarly, the prajna, that knowledge, the wisdom of a person is carried away by the mind which moves along with the sense organs. That is the meaning. The mind that follows the moving sense organs robs a person of this knowledge because the mind is with the sense organs. The mind is extrovert and therefore following the sense organs. The mind robs of the prajnam, the knowledge of the person. Just like the wind, Vayuhu, Navam, Iva Ambasi, Ambasi on the waters. Like the boat on the waters is carried away by the wind. Similarly, for the one whose mind is not resolved, and is therefore in the hands of raga dveshas. The mind is not resolved, it is not samahita chittaha, it is still under the influence of raga dvesha. Therefore, there is no knowledge. No knowledge because the mind is in the hands of raga dvesha. The mind is dictated by raga dvesha. So, knowledge cannot be there in the person who is influenced by, who is dictated by raga dveshas. Even if knowledge is there, it is not adequate as it has already been pointed out. This is because the mind goes behind the moving senses, all of which are engaged in their own spheres of activity. For example, the eyes have the sphere of seeing in forms and colors, and the ears have the sphere in sounds. Thus, you find that each sense organ has its own sphere of activity. As sense organs experience the sense objects according to their own spheres, the mind naturally has some fancies that goes after as they arise, like rasavarjam rasopyasya. In other words, you go along with the sense cravings. The person being discussed in this shloka is one whose mind joins with the sense perceptions with reference to which there are certain inner cravings or fancies. A mind that joins the senses robs away one's knowledge. Because this knowledge is not Dridajnanam, knowledge is there, but the knowledge is not that much, not much firm or stable. It was carried away by the raga dveshas. Therefore, that a mind that joins the sensor robs away one's knowledge, the knowledge born of discriminative inquiry of oneself. This means whatever self-knowledge one may have had is as good as gone. The mind, meaning the will of such a person, is one that says yes to everything that is not to be done and no to whatever has to be done. To illustrate this point, Bhagavan Krishna used the example of the wind with its capacity to take a small boat away from its destination, because the boat doesn't have any say over the powerful wind. Similarly, the mind which is under the influence of raga dvesha doesn't have say any over the attraction for the sense objects. So therefore, the mind is not yet ready. Even knowledge is there, the knowledge is robbed off. Just like the boat is carried away by the wind. Similarly, robbed of self-knowledge, the mind is busy with objects alone. It has no time for self-knowledge. The person cannot do nididhyasanam. Even though the person has studied Shastram, he has done Shravanam, but is busy with the objects. Therefore, no time for nididhyasanam and therefore no nishta. Therefore, the mind is carried away by sense objects. In fact, there is no time for anything because there are so many ragadveshas. Because situations do not happen as we want, there is nothing but concerns one after the other. First, the pressure of ragadveshas, which is in the form of undifferentiated concern, and then the concern is in the form of desire, regret, disappointment, sorrow, despair, anxiety, and a constant sense of loss. When the mind is occupied with objects, there is concern. Whereas when it is occupied with the self, the Atma, there is no concern, only tranquility. The Atma will not run away, it stays put. Even you come back after 20 years, Atma will still be Satchit Ananda. Regardless of which book you read, Atma will not grow into Asachit Ananda. Atma is always full. Fullness is Atma. Limitlessness, Ananda. If the object of your knowledge is Atma, the self, then there is Ananda for you. And Krishna summed up all that he had said with reference to one's knowledge, becoming steady in the following shloka number 68. Let us read. Tasmad yasya mahabaho
तस्माद्यस्य महाबाहो
nigrihitani sarvashah
निगृहीतानि सर्वशः
indriyanindriyartebhyah
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः
tasya prajna pratishtitha.
तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
It's an indicator here. The one whose sense organs are withdrawn from sense objects, his mind is said to be steady in this knowledge. So not carried over by sense organs. So he is not influenced by ragadveshas. So ragadveshas are well managed, well neutralized. Therefore, the mind is not under the influence of ragadvesha, and therefore sense organs are with himself, not with the sense objects. Tasma, therefore, e mahabaho nigrhitani sarvasha. It's upadesha here. It's an instruction given. Therefore, may you restrain all the sense organs from the sense objects. Indriyartebhyaha. The knowledge of the person whose sense organs are completely withdrawn from the sense objects is steady. Therefore, may you withdraw yourself, your senses from the sense objects. So that is a goal. So that is the sadhya. Sadhya for the sthita prajna is, that is siddha for sthita prajna is, his mind is with himself, not with the sense organs, sense objects. So that is the goal, that is what is desired, but that has to be practiced. Therefore, it's Upadesha here. Therefore, O mighty Arjuna, the knowledge of one whose sense organs are completely mastered, withdrawn from the sense objects, is steady. Sense organs, not just mere withdrawal of sense organs from sense objects. That is one thing, followed by jnana, the knowledge. Because of knowledge, because of viveka, the sense organs are completely withdrawn from sense objects because of viveka. So raga dveshas are well managed. Therefore, the sense organs are withdrawn from the sense objects. Raga dveshas are neutralized, and jnanam, nididhyasanam, jnana nishta, jnanam nishta has happened in this jnanam. Therefore, sense organs are completely withdrawn. That is possible only when there is nishta in this jnana. Only when the jnanam is dridam. Therefore, tasya prajna pratishtita. Therefore, the knowledge of such a person is steady. So the knowledge of that person is steady, whose sense organs are withdrawn from sense objects. Therefore, the word tasmad indicates the big therefore. It's a summary, it's a conclusion. The Bhagavan Krishna summarizing here. Tasmad, therefore, indicates that Krishna was summing up this Siddhapragya Lakshanani, which Arjuna asked, Kimasita Katam Brajeta iti. Therefore, summing up this section dealing with the description of the mind of the person who has vision and is making an effort to make his or her knowledge steady. He explained that because the sense organs are turbulent, they could rob away the mind of such a person. How they do this also was discussed. Krishna addressed Arjuna as Mahabahu, meaning, O mighty armed Arjuna. One may be mighty armed with reference to one's prowess and skill, but what is needed for self-knowledge is to be mighty armed, that is, strong in the mind. Not about the muscle, here it about the mind, which is more difficult. The prowess and skills that Arjuna had gathered to earn him the name mighty armed were great in their own sphere, in that he was able to control all external enemies. But his ability to control this inner one was the issue here. To control the senses, to withdraw them from the respective sense objects means to be able to withdraw them at will, just as a turtle withdraws its head and limbs. Tha kurmaha angani sarvashaha withdraws his head and limbs into its shell whenever it senses any danger. The shloka was, we have seen, Yada samharate chayam kurmongani vasarvashaha indriyani indriyartebhyaha tasya prajna pratishtita. 58 shloka number. Here, that is referred to the turtle withdrawing its head and limbs. If you want to release the senses, release them. If you want to withdraw them, withdraw them. This means that the senses are under your control. Only when you have the capacity to withdraw your senses at will can your knowledge be steady. So Dhamma and Shama. Shama Dhamma is very important. Important qualities. Sadhana Chatushtaya, Sampatti, Shama and Dhamma. The idea here is that the knowledge becomes steady only when the mind is freed from the pressure of Raga Dvesha. And that is achieved by Karma Yoga. By Karma Yoga, the person qualifies himself for Jnanam, Sadhana Chatushtaya, Sampatti. Suppose Shama Dhamma. So that is indicated here, Shama and Dhamma. To the extent you master your likes and dislikes, to that extent your knowledge stays. So the steadiness of the knowledge is determined by your say over your control over Raga Dvesha. Because your Raga Dveshas are neutralized, you can enjoy the benefits of your self-knowledge. The pressure of Raga Dveshas being less, the benefits of knowledge are more. So, therefore, in spite of Jnanam, the person doesn't enjoy the benefit of knowledge. It is because there is pressure of Raga Dvesha. So, lesser the pressure of Raga Dvesha, the more will be the benefit of knowledge. Jnana Palam. Jnanam happens only by Shravanam. Shravana matrena Jnanam Bhavati. But Jnana Palam, for that one has to take care of this Raga Dvesha. The more and more the Raga Dveshas are reduced, the more and more the Jnana Palam will be experienced. Therefore, the knowledge is complete when the Raga Dveshas have no say in your life. When they are all neutralized, then it makes no difference to you whether your desire is fulfilled or not. Only then is there no hindrance to self-knowledge. Otherwise, Raga Dvesha always be an hindrance to self-knowledge. Therefore, the person will be dictated by Raga Dvesha and therefore will be under the influence of sense objects and therefore to the experience of Sukha Dukkha Anubhava caused by the impact of the sense objects with the sense organ, sense object interaction. So therefore, the hindrance to self-knowledge is this Raga Dvesha. Therefore, Shama, Dhamma, all these are important. Knowledge and the mastery of the mind go hand in hand. The mastery of the mind, Dhammaha. So Dhammaha and Shamaha. So Dhamma, mastery of the mind. Shama, mastery of the mind is Shama. Mastery of the sense organs is Dhamma. So mastery of the mind is Shama. So mastery over the sense organs, Dhammaha. Mastery over the mind, Shamaha. All the sense organs function only when backed up by the mind. Therefore, when Shama is there, Dhamma is implied. When Shama is there, Dhamma is implied. Therefore, the mastery of the mind, knowledge and the mastery of the mind. So when mind is mastered, the sense organs are taken to be mastered. Therefore, mastery of the mind, Shama. Jnanam and Shama, they go hand in hand. There is a certain trick to all this in that as one's knowledge grows in clarity, mastery of the mind over Raga Dveshas also take place. Mastery of the mind is required for Jnanam, and when the knowledge grows, when you get more clarity with more and more clarity, then mastery of the mind also takes place. It is vice versa. So mastery of the mind requires for knowledge, and the more and more the clarity you get, the more and more Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam is done, the more and more the vision is, the clarity is, the mastery of the mind also takes place. With the Karma Yoga attitude, the Raga Dveshas are mastered to a certain extent, and the knowledge becomes clearer. Raga Dveshas are mastered means neutralized with Antakarana Shuddhi. Antakarana Shuddhi is Raga Dveshas are neutralized. And therefore, the clear mind, knowledge takes place. Knowledge becomes clearer. Thus, there is a mutual kinship relationship between the two. Between what? Between the mastery of the mind, that is mastery over raga dveshas, and the knowledge, the vision, the clear vision. The entire presentation of yoga in the Gita is with reference to raga dveshas. The psychology of the Gita is raga dvesha psychology. And as a psychology, the Gita itself is adequate and complete. When we are dealing with normal people, raga dvesha psychology is enough. It implies an order, dharma, adharma, which is looked upon as Ishvara, the Lord, the giver of the fruits of action, all of which bring about a certain neutralization of one's raga dveshas. Taking care of raga dvesha itself bring about a certain tranquility, a cheerfulness to the mind. And as the cheerfulness increases, one's knowledge becomes clearer. Conversely, on the other way also, as the knowledge becomes clearer, one's cheerfulness increases. So cheerfulness, the tranquility is because of the mastery of raga dvesha. So the more the cheerfulness and knowledge becomes more and more clear, and as the knowledge becomes clearer, one become more and more cheerful. Therefore, vice versa. In other words, the pressure caused by raga dveshas is less. Just as a bird requires both wings to take off, so too we require both wings. Inquiry, that is jnanam, and a proper attitude, that is karma, that is buddhi, karma yoga buddhi, yoga buddhi. So jnanam and yoga buddhi, sankhya buddhi and yoga buddhi, to glide into this knowledge. One wing is as important as the other. So inquiry, vichara. Vichara is required. By vichara, jnanam, and the jnanam along with the attitude, proper attitude, yoga buddhi. Both are important. Iti. So both are important. Karma yoga as well as jnanam. Both are important. Both are compared to the wings. Inquiry is vichara, shastra vichara. That is study of shastra, jnanam, inquiry. And a proper attitude, that is gained by karma yoga. So both are required. One wing is as important as the other. Then comes the next important shloka, often misinterpreted or misunderstood shloka. If you take the literal meaning, that is not the meaning. Literal meaning of the shloka is not the meaning of the shloka. That is why bhashyam is required. So we will see, read the shloka. Ya nisha sarvabhutanam
या निशा सर्वभूतानां
tasyam jagarti संयमी
तस्यां जागर्ति संयमी
yasyam jagrati bhutani
यस्यां जाग्राति भूतानि
sa nisha pashyato munehe.
सा निशा पश्यतो मुनेः.
Literal meaning, Yanisha Sarvabhutanam. Sarvabhutanam, Yanisha, for all the beings, that which is night. In that night, Sanyami Jagarti, the wise person, Sanyami. Sanyama is the one who has mastery over oneself, himself. Sanyami, Sanyama, some Upasarga, Yam. Yam is Uparame, withdrawal, mastery. Sanyami referring to the person. So that person, wise person, is awake in the night, awake, that which is night for all the beings, tasyam jagrati sayami. That is the person who has got mastery over himself is awake. He is awake in the night. Awake in the night, that night for the other beings, not for this sayami. Similarly, yasyam jagrati bhutani, bhutas which are awake in the awake, sanisha pashyato munehe. The munihi, the wise person, he sees For the wise person, it is night. Sanisha Pashyato Munehe. The Muni, the wise man who has the clear vision, for him it is night. For him it is night. That is the beings which are awake, that is night for the Muni who has the vision. So therefore, if you take the literal meaning, that is wise man is awake in the night, he is awake, that is awake in the night, and all the beings sleep in the night. Second line, all the beings are awake, in which they are awake, and that is night for the Muni. This is a literal meaning, but that is not the meaning of the shloka. This is a very terse shloka. So that is why Bhashyam is required, interpretation is required. In that which is night for all beings. So night for all beings is a day for the Jnani. That which is day for all the beings is a night for Jnani. This is a literal meaning. In that which is night for all the beings, the one who is wise, who has mastery over himself, is awake. So Jnani is awake, which is night for all the beings. Awake. What is awake? That we have to see. Awake means this. That's why Bhashyam is required. You will see. This Bhashyam to this shloka also is a long one. That in which beings are awake. Beings are awake where, in which time of the day? Daytime. Daytime they are awake. And that is night for the wise person who sees. Who sees means who has a vision. So how to interpret this shloka? So for that only, we need Bhashyam. Let us read what Swamiji says. What Swamiji says is nothing but the translation of the Bhashyam. Not exact translation. It's a commentary to or explanation of the Bhashyam. Krishna had been answering Arjuna's question about how a person of wisdom, Sthita Prajna, is defined and how such a person interacts with the world. Upon analysis, we find Krishna's answer a very interesting one. First, he defined Sthita Prajna as one, Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha, as one who is happy with himself by himself, and thereby one who is free from the hold of all the desires. Sarvan Parthamanogatan, Yada Prajahati Yada Kaman, Sarvan Parthamanogatan, one who is able to give up all the binding desires as they arise in one's mind, being happy with himself, Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha, in oneself, is awake to the nature of oneself and is therefore wise. The wisdom of such a person is steady. Iti, Bhagavan has said before. Although Arjuna expressed the second part of his question with the words, how does a wise person talk, sit, and walk? The spirit of his question was, how does such a person interact with the world? For that, this is the answer. This shloka is the answer. Taking the spirit of Arjuna's question into account, how does he interact with the world? Krishna replied that one's wisdom is steady only when one's mind is no longer a problem. Krishna said that raga dveshas are the cause for one's knowledge being stifled or inhibited. For the person whose sense organs are freed from raga and dvesha, and whose pursuits are not backed up by raga and dveshas, the knowledge remains because he or she has a cheerful mind, a mind that is not in the hands of raga dveshas. Krishna then summed up by saying that for the one who has withdrawn the sense organs to the sense objects, the one who has the sense organs with oneself, if indeed this person has self-knowledge, that knowledge will be steady. Having said all this, Krishna was not very happy with his reply to Arjuna's question because he knew that to know whether or not another person is wise, you yourself must be wise. How else are you going to know otherwise? Only a person who is wise alone knows what it takes to be wise. Arjuna thought that the characteristics of a wise person could be a kind of sadhana for him, a means for becoming a wise. So what is sadhya, what is siddha for is siddha for a jnani is sadhana for a sadhaka. Therefore, only Arjuna has this question. But how could he understand these characteristics if he himself was not wise? That is what Krishna still had to convey to Arjuna. Ignorance and knowledge are like day and night. Ignorance is dark, is compared to darkness, therefore night. Knowledge is compared to the light, therefore day. So ignorance and knowledge are like day and night. So if this is so, then we can understand the meaning of the shloka now. Nisha meaning darkness, ignorance. It is night. And Jagrati is awake. Is awake. Sanyami Jagrati. So all the beings are dark. All the beings are, they are in ignorance, whereas Jnani is awake. He has got Jnanam, therefore is, all the beings are, they are in samsara, whereas this Jnani is Jagrati, is awake to this knowledge. Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani, Bhutani beings which are awake to this Ajnanam, awake to Ajnanam. Ajnanam is compared to the darkness, Nisha. They are awake to Ajnanam. And for Jnani is, that is, Sa Nisha Pashyato Munehe. That Jnani sees it as very clearly as Ajnanam, ignorance. So that which is daylight for Ajnanis is darkness, is ignorance for Jnani. Jnani knows that to be ignorance. So that is how it's going to be developed. The meaning of the shloka is that I think we'll read because it's a long one. The commentary itself is a long commentary for this shloka. It has to be explained. That's why I said it's a terse shloka. We will read this next class. One of the important shloka. Yanisha Sarvabhutanam, like Nasato Vidyate Bhavaha, the 16th shloka, as well as this shloka, important shloka. We'll stop here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om
Shri
Shri Gurubhyo
Namaha.
Namaha Harihi Om.
Om.
Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.